What's up, guys? I'm James Withy, and today we're going to talk about whether or not you should tip your tattoo artist. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a question that I get asked quite a bit as a tattoo artist. Oftentimes at the counter after a client has already received a tattoo from me and they're getting ready to pay. And that question is whether or not it's normal for someone to tip a tattoo artist, and whether or not they should tip, how much they should tip, all that sort of shit. So that is basically what we're going to be talking about in this video. The structure of it is going to go something like this. First, I'm going to talk about whether or not it's normal to tip or whether or not you should tip. Then I'm going to talk about what's normal, as far as how much people tip when they do decide to. Then I'm going to talk about some of the factors that might influence whether or not you'll tip somebody more than what's average. And then I'm going to talk about why us as tattoo artists, why we appreciate tips so much. All right, so first things first, should you tip or is it normal to tip? Before I answer that question, let me just throw it out there for you guys that I am from the US, as you guys could probably tell just by hearing me talk. And I do recognize that the US is not the only country where tattoos are pretty popular culturally. And I also recognize that not every country that, has a lot of people that receive tattoos is a tipping culture, if that makes any sense. Like the UK, for instance, I'm pretty sure they don't tip for anything over there. Whether it's waiters and waitresses or bartenders or whatever, tattoo services, they don't tip for anything over there. So if you're from one of those countries, obviously you might want to disregard what I'm about to say because this doesn't apply to you. But with regards to the United States of America, I can speak from that perspective because I am an American and I am a tattoo artist, so I know what's normal here. And what is normal here in the US is that people do tip for tattoos. So I would say maybe 90% of clients that I observe tip for tattoos. As far as, whether or not you should, that's your decision. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys what to fucking do with your own money. But I feel like, if you enjoy your tattoo and you feel like it's a pretty good tattoo, most likely you should tip. If for anything else, you should just tip because it's normal. So as far as the amount, most people do maybe 15 or 20%. I feel like that's the norm. But honestly, I really don't think you should get stuck on percentages. If you get $1,000 tattoo from somebody and you tip them $50, nobody's gonna look at that and be like, oh man, you only tipped me $50, which is 5%, I think. I'm smart and I want respect. That's 5%. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, 5% is a shitty tip. $50, $50, it's no big deal. So don't get too stuck on the percentages. I feel like, tips don't even have to necessarily be money. Some clients have baked me cheesecakes and shit and come in and tipped with that, and I was totally stoked on it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something monetary. Help your tattoo artist out in whatever way you can if that's what you choose to do. What else? As far as factors that will affect whether or not you want to tip your tattoo artist more, I wrote a few down, and I feel like the biggest ones are going to be definitely whether or not your tattoo artist was professional, whether or not they were ready on time for their appointment, whether or not they seemed like they had their shit together as far as their cross-contamination prevention techniques, aseptic technique, and whether it felt like they were clean and cared about your safety and all those different things. I feel like another factor that should influence whether or not you decide to tip more is whether or not your tattoo artist was friendly and, they did a good job of talking to you during the tattoo and making you feel comfortable and kind of just making the experience overall enjoyable. Another factor might be that your tattoo artist was very accommodating. Sometimes clients can make a lot of different requests and shit, and some tattoo artists will bend over backwards more than others. And if you got the kind of tattoo artist that went to the above and the beyond just to make sure that you were happy with your tattoo, then I feel like that's one of those other factors that you might want to take into consideration in terms of whether or not you're going to tip them the average amount or not at all or more or whatever. So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is why tattoo artists appreciate tips so much. Why is it such a big deal to us when somebody tips us out real fat? The answer to that question kind of depends on the artist and what their situation is, as far as the level they're at in their career, whether or not they're a shop owner or whether or not they work for somebody else. But in general, the average tattoo artist really depends on that tip quite a bit. And, you know, I'm not trying to say that that's the reason why you should tip them, just like out of pity or whatever, because I mean, after all, they chose that fucking job. But just hear me out. Most tattoo artists really don't make a whole lot of money because they are not tattooing every single hour that they're at work at the tattoo shop, because they just simply don't have enough clientele to fill all those hours. And that's the sad reality of most tattoo artists' lives. They're doing what they do for the love of it and not really getting paid a whole lot of money for it. They're living a pretty modest life for how hard they have to work to even become a tattoo artist in the first place. Now, with that said, think about this. Most tattoo artists, if they work at somebody else's shop, they have to split what they're making with the person that owns that shop. And typically where I'm from in Arizona, the split is a 50-50 split. So if you go in there and you get like a $500 tattoo, the tattoo artist is gonna give $250 of that money to the shop owner, and he or she is gonna put the other $250 in their pocket. Now I understand that $250 is a pretty good lick for a day's work. However, that might be the only tattoo that they do all week, or maybe they do like one other tattoo like that, and then maybe like one small little $60 tattoo later in the week, and that's all they fucking make. So don't assume because your tattoo is expensive that your tattoo artist is getting that fat payday every single time they come to work, because even though some tattoo artists are booked out many months in advance and they are living like that, most of them aren't. Most tattoo artists are not booked out like that, and they're not just tattooing as much as they want to. Another important thing to mention is that with regards to the tip, like I said, it's a 50-50 split with the shop owner or whatever the tattoo artists make. The only exception to that is the tip. So if you come in, like I said, and that tattoo is $500, the tattoo artist gets $250, but if you tip them $50 on top of that, all of that $50 from the tip goes to the artist. And that right there means they make $300 instead of $250, and that's a pretty big difference proportionately as far as how much money they get, how much of that percentage they get. So like I said earlier, I'm not trying to convince you guys to do something with your money that you don't want to do. I'm not begging you guys to tip me. I don't really give a fuck. I'm good financially. But what I am telling you is that it's normal in the US for people to tip tattoo artists. And if you don't want to stick out as one of those like less than ideal clients, then you might want to throw them a little bit of extra cash, whatever you could spare. Or maybe even just do them a little favor. Maybe like bring them lunch or something like that when you show up for your tattoo session. Even something like that goes a very long way in establishing a good relationship with your tattoo artist, which is important because this person is permanently marking you for the rest of your life. And it's a good idea to have like a little bit more than just a surface relationship with somebody that's doing something that important for you. So I do understand, like I said, that there are like different things going on in other cultures and other countries that might be, contradictory to what I'm saying right now. If you guys live in one of those countries and it's totally different, I'm kind of curious to know what it, how it works over there. If you guys like are a tattoo artist that lives in another part of the United States and you've observed different norms than what I'm kind of detailing here, I'm also interested in that shit. Leave it all in the comments below. Hit me with some info and enlighten me if things are different where you're at than how they are where I'm at. So with that said, if you liked the video, smash the like button. I think it's down there somewhere. I'm gonna be going to Detroit in 2 days. I'll be out there. This weekend is the Motor City Tattoo Expo. It is going down on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of March. So I will be in Detroit. I just got back from Philly. Shout out to everybody that stopped by the booth and said what's up to me over in Philadelphia. Had a bunch of subscribers coming up and fucking saying what's up and being hella cool, and that makes me feel good. So if you are in Detroit, feel free to stop by the booth, say what's up. I'll try not to be awkward, but no fucking promises, all right? If you guys enjoyed the video, wait, I already said that. The like button. Have a nice day. Yeah.